Hi everybody. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the configuration phase of a provisioning workflow and how you can utilize that to update a config spec for your instance deployments. So the provisioning workflow has a few phases, as you can see here on the screen, but the one we're going to focus on today is the configuration phase. This allows you to run tasks prior to the initial calls to the specified cloud API to initiate the provisioning. So basically what that means is now you can reach out to external systems, do some other stuff to make sure everything is good before even trying to provision out the instance. Those of you who have familiarity with the workflow automation process inside of Morpheus and how our variables work will no doubt have seen this page where we have our variable examples. You can see a lot of our common examples here, container-based ones, our evars, your groups, etc. And then all of our instance-based ones that are available as well. So the ones we're going to focus on today are the instance.hostname and the instance.name. What we're going to do is we're actually going to generate a brand new name for an instance utilizing PowerShell and checking that name against Active Directory to make sure that that name is not already in existence, to do a little bit of validation here. To show you what we're doing here, we're going to go into the automation tab and we're going to look at two tasks that I have in my provisioning workflow. I've got this Python task that's just print config spec, and all this does is print out the spec for our instance deployment. So Morpheus will wrap the entire config inside of Morpheus spec, and you can just print that out and look at everything that is in the configuration for that particular instance. After that, we're going to run this rename instance to generate a Dell service tag. This was actually a requested script, and what it does is it just generates a fake Dell service tag as a name and then drops it in as the name for the instance. Do a quick walkthrough on it here. You can see this config JSON. Here's our spec. So we're building out this PowerShell object. We're taking the JSON from the spec and we are pumping it into a PowerShell object called config JSON. Okay. From there, we are going to take our characters, create a new name, get random set of the characters here, and when we get that random set, we're going to go ahead and try and see if we can get an Active Directory computer with that name. Now this is a remote task running on a Windows host that has the Active Directory tools installed, utilizing credentials that have access to Active Directory. Since we're just doing a read, any service account would work for that, as long as they can log into the box remotely. So once we're able to generate a Dell service tag that does not exist in Active Directory, we're going to update our config JSON object. So if we go back to the variables here, instance.name, that's what we're updating here. So config.json is the object, and then we're traversing down into instance.name, and we are setting it equal to new name, which is what we generated here. Then we're doing the same thing for hostname. Okay, so instance.hostname, which was in here somewhere, there it is. We're reading that, or writing to it, I should say, the new generated Dell service tag as the name. We're going to convert our PowerShell object back into JSON, and then we're going to wrap the entire thing back in spec. So the entire JSON is now wrapped inside of spec. And then we're going to output that. So in our workflow here, with our instance name update workflow, you can see we have the print config spec and then the rename instance to generate a Dell service tag. We'll go ahead and provision out a quick Linux instance and you'll see how this works. So I'm just going to face roll the keyboard because it does not matter what I'm putting in. One thing to keep in mind, actually, if you do have a naming policy in effect and it is not user editable, something like this will fail because you can't actually set the name. There's a policy in place that will prevent that, and your provision will fail. Just something to keep in mind on that. Go ahead and set my data store and my network. Everything else is fine for the configuration. And then we're going to go ahead and set the workflow to instance name update. Next. So looking again, here's our beautiful face rolled name for our instance. When I hit complete, that configuration phase is going to run now. And in the background, it's actually running both of those tasks. And you can see here now my instance name is a fake Dell service tag. Come in here, and here is the name here as well. The VM will be named as such. So if we go look at the history, we have our print config spec. We'll drop that guy over here. And then we have the update config spec, and we'll drop that guy over here on the right. And what you'll see is our host name and our computed host name are both the face roll. But as we get down into the instance object inside of our spec, our instance dot host name over here is the face roll. Our instance dot host name is our Dell service tag. Same with name here. Instance dot name. We are now in here. So as that deploys out, make you all aware this works just on instance deployment, but the exact same configuration does work for the catalog. So we're actually going to go through and build out a catalog item exactly how we built that out. So call this Ubuntu with Dell tag. We'll go ahead and feature it, give it the Ubuntu logo because we want it to be pretty. And we'll go through the configuration wizard here exactly like we did before, right? So let's call that change me. We'll set it up, select the network, go on next. And now we can use that same workflow and go ahead and complete this catalog item. And we'll set this up just to have a little something in here. And instance service tag. Okay. We don't have any inputs that we have to worry about because this is all self-contained. So kept it nice and simple here. Go ahead and save the changes. And now if we go to our catalog, and we will just go ahead and order it now. Give it a couple of seconds to do what it needs to do. And we should see here in a moment, yep, there is our new instance with the Dell service tag name. So doing it from the catalog or as an instance type, same principles work. Now, this code here, if you want to test it out and mess around with it for the rename instance code, we actually have it out on our Go Morpheus GitHub under automation examples. So Morpheus automation examples at Go Morpheus. We've got PowerShell here, and under configuration, we've got this PowerShell task, generate new instance name. We also have another one in here that allows you to generate a name from an IP hash. Feel free to look at these. This whole automation examples is use at your own risk, but hop in and take a look. You can see this is exactly what I had pasted in locally inside of the Morpheus. Well, hopefully this was entertaining and a little bit knowledge inducing for you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.